Okay, so the next two videos are going to be independent chapters. That way I can really give myself some time to actually get into some of the things that have popped up for me. So first, well, today's video, I'm going to be looking at the chapter called The Sorting Hat. And what I find really interesting about this one is that you get two really good representations of what I've learned to call textualization within a text. And this is literally the moment where you actually have some other form of text within the text itself. That name probably implied that, but alright, let's see if I can explain this. Basically, when you have some sort of other way that you are receiving information about this world that's not being narrated to you about the events. And in fact, oftentimes it's then in fact narrating to the characters themselves. Like when you're reading the book, you're hearing about what Harry's doing, but then Harry's also getting things such as his Hogwarts letter. This is an example of text within the text. The Hogwarts letter is not something that we are just getting narration of. It's something that's actually informing the character at the same time it's informing us. And it helps to actually expand the world, because you find out that they are in fact writing letters. Within the Sorting Hat, you actually get two different songs. One from the Sorting Hat itself, and the second one which is the anthem of the school. And it only shows up here. It doesn't show up in the movies. I do know there is one movie with a special feature of it. I think it's Goblet of Fire. I think they're singing it as their little show. You know how the other two schools come in all big and flashy? I think it's their show. And what these are actually showing you is that you've got a world building going on. And if it's done really well, which I think it really is done quite well here, it's actually informing your world more completely. You can judge these characters through the different writing they have, the different songs they have, the different poems they have. For example, let's look at Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Tolkien included huge amounts of poetry and song within not just The Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit as well. And all of this is actually informing, because each of the different races within that work have their own different types of music. The hobbits are very playful and homebound with their music. They sing about things like going walking, taking baths, finding a good inn and having a nice drink. They don't have songs about epic battles because that's not part of their lives. The Rohirrim, all of their songs are war poetry. It's all about taking over and their history of being great warriors and with fast horses. Very different cultures, which is represented through that textualization. So what you're actually getting here is the textualization of the world itself. Again, it started very early on. It started with the letters themselves, but the letters are showing you very much that it's a school. It's giving you that information, and it's textualizing it as this is an actual world, because that school includes a list of books that are needed. Well, again, those books themselves are informing you about this world you're entering. You have certain things you need to know about. There is risen history, so this world goes back further than the past 10 years. These are important things. Now, the textualization you get within the chapter of The Sorting Hat is focused more fully on the school, but again, it's providing you the history of that school. With The Sorting Hat, of course, you get the divide of the houses. He's singing about the different houses. the people that fit into those houses. But again, it's giving you a context that this is a history, and that all these things are important and necessary. And it's not trying to bias you either way. In fact, it remains a very neutral song, as long as you're willing to admit that all of these pieces are very necessary. Now, I myself have some issues about talking about unity and then instantly dividing everybody up. But again, at least the song you're getting with the Sorting Hat, it's talking about division, but division through difference, not through inequality, is what it's pointing at. I think a lot of people don't see it that way. You get proof when Hagrid says that there's not an evil wizard that didn't come from Slytherin. That's a point to inequality. That is not a point to difference. Draco saying that Hufflepuffs are terrible. He's saying that because of inequality, not because of difference. What the Sorting Hat is trying to do, especially within this textualization again, is point out that each of the houses have their positive traits, and each of those is worth having. In fact, what I think it encourages people to do is, even though you yourself will then sort yourself into these areas, especially now that Pottermore's up and you can do an official sorting, what it's actually encouraging you to do is to try and have at least a little bit of all of these. You want to have a little bit of courage when things go badly, even if you're Slytherin, Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw. You should have some ambition to do something. Maybe it's not take over the world. Maybe it's just to, for those with depression, get up out of bed every morning. That's an important ambition, and you need to have ambitions just as much as you need to be willing to work hard. You need to be willing to learn things. You need to be courageous. All of these are really important things to have, and you're getting this not from J.K. Rowling literally sitting there like, these are important. No, you are getting this information at the same time the characters are getting this information. And it changes how the book goes depending on how much the characters understand about the text within their real world. So, if people see this song as dividing them up, they're going to respond differently to those in other houses and the school itself than people who see this song as talking about unity and cultivating all these different aspects of oneself. Hogwarts isn't a school as much as we wish it was. It's not a gigantic place in the world. And it's not just this text. It's not just this text. Hogwarts, because of the textualization within it and what we can take from that, becomes something in us. And it becomes something that we can grow from and learn from just as much as the characters can, without having it shoved in our face that this is what's expected of us, or even what's expected of the characters. That textualization is simply laying the possibility out for us that we can understand the culture more and understand ourselves more through that culture, if we're willing to try and get involved with these songs and poems and letters that are actually being presented here. It helps the plot along, but it also helps us develop a stronger understanding of ourselves.